Hi guys, Heather Peterman. I wanted to spend some time talking to you guys today about a condition that often goes hand in hand with adrenal fatigue and definitely with chronic stress. And it's something that doesn't always come first and foremost to our minds when we're thinking about what happens to our body with stress, but really it is a key origin in what happens when our body starts to break down when we've been in a period of prolonged stress. And that thing that I want to talk to you about is called leaky gut or dysbiosis. So you may or may not have heard this term before. There's been a lot of light shed on it in recent years. But even with that light being put on it, I don't think the importance is quite there, and the significance isn't quite there, especially in the Western health community, when we're talking about helping our body recover and helping our body function as it should when we've been in periods of long-term stressors. So let's jump right into it. So what is leaky gut? As we know, our gut is responsible for a lot. We've got the gut-brain connection where we see our thought processes really being dependent on how healthy our gut is. Our immune system is dependent on how healthy our gut is, and our emotional health also has a very key component in how we feel if our gut is not functioning the way that it should. So just a little statistic to clarify that for you, about 90% of serotonin, or the feel-good hormone that we have in our body, is produced in our gut, not our brain. So if you're finding yourself in a point of feeling a lot of anxiety or stressors or depression, the gut is sometimes a first place to look to see what's going on and address that emotional health component through the health of the gut. So our intestines are designed to help us absorb and pull the nutrients out of our food and to stop toxic substances from getting out into the rest of our body. Normally, our small intestine and our large intestine are designed with a mucosal layer that has tight gap junctions, meaning that there's a cell wall along the outside that is very tightly put together. There are small, very tiny microscopic gaps between those junctions, where a normal amount of substances should go through and come in, moving in and out of the intestines. But what happens when our body has been under a prolonged amount of stress is those junctions, those tight junctions, get a little bit bigger than they're supposed to be. They get stretched out and they get lax. And so undigested food and toxins from our intestines start leaking out into our body. And it starts getting into the cells and the tissue around where the intestines are, and eventually it becomes widespread and it gets into our bloodstream. And when that happens, it causes a whole slew of different side effects in the body and interactions in the body that are not good for us. So signs of leaky gut can include multiple things, and because of all the different topics that I've already touched on, we see multi-systemic systems that are involved in this process when leaky gut starts to happen or dysbiosis starts to happen. You can start to see symptoms with food intolerances. You can start to see symptoms with GI symptoms like gut pain or gastritis that hasn't been present before. Headaches of unknown causes can start to be related to this. Emotional issues, like I mentioned, with anxiety or depression. New rashes or dermatitis skin conditions that seem to appear out of nowhere are oftentimes linked to these toxins getting out into the body and starting to poison the body from inside out. You can see an exacerbation or new development in different autoimmune disorders, especially lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, thyroiditis. Those all seem to have a tie that comes back to how our gut is functioning. You can also see symptoms like asthma, seasonal allergies, and even you can start to notice that you have foggy, unclear thinking that's related back to a symptom of leaky gut, and that's because of that gut-brain connection where your brain just isn't able to think clearly because your gut isn't functioning the way that it should. So how does stress affect what happens in our gut? That sounds a little strange. It seems a little bit different because our emotional health and our gut normally aren't really connected from how we look at it in Western medicine. But let me explain what happens. So when we're under a prolonged period of stress, your body starts to create more cortisol. If you watch my previous videos, you know all about that cortisol response. So your body starts to dump more cortisol in order to kind of sound the alarm and tell the body that we're in a heightened state and we're in fight or flight and we need to deal with this level of stress. And when that happens, when cortisol starts screaming and putting off a fire alarm in our body, digestion automatically gets slowed down. As I've mentioned in previous videos, our body is designed to survive, and we don't necessarily need to maximize our nutrients to survive in an immediate stressor situation. So in order to conserve energy, our body starts to slow our digestion down. And when that happens, over time, the gut starts to get inflamed and it starts to get damaged. And so you start to see that these little gap junctions, the area where the cells are arranged and they're supposed to be arranged tightly together, that starts to separate. And that separation is where these food particles, undigested food, and different toxins can escape out into the body. When this happens over a prolonged period of time, your body starts to take glutamine, which glutamine is an essential amino acid that's there as an energy source for the cells inside of the small intestine and large intestine. Your body starts to rob glutamine from the intestinal tract and use it to power other parts of the body that it deems more necessary to survival. So now you have a gut that's inflamed, and there's starting to be bigger spaces in these gap junctions that are causing the leakage of these substances. And the power source that your body usually uses to fuel the intestine is no longer available because it's being rediversed or reissued to other parts of the body to deal with this chronic stress. So this is a big issue, and it's a complex issue, and this is how our body starts to spin and spiral. And really fixing your digestive tract, leaky gut, or dysbiosis is really the first step in strengthening your immune system, balancing your hormones, and getting back to that homeostatic point of hormonal balance and hormonal shift. And also to help you get rid of all the emotional turmoil and the emotional fatigue that's there. What happens if you don't address it, eventually your body just becomes more and more stressed because now it's starting to have these different symptoms exacerbate. And so your body starts to produce more cortisol, and this kind of is a perpetual cycle that just sends everything spiraling. So if you choose to move forward and trying to address some of these symptoms as a one-by-one approach, and you don't get to the root of what's going on, you don't fix your gut, you're really not going to get better. You're just going to see this shifting of symptoms that occurs because you're not getting to the root of the problem. So it's very, very important that you stop and take the time to heal your gut. And healing your gut is a multi-step process, but it really starts with getting rid of inflammatory foods, getting rid of the things that are causing the problem in the first place. So what are things that cause this problem to occur? One, really, it's foods that are inflammatory, it's foods that trigger the inflammation, it's excess stressors, so cutting out that excess stress and getting rid of that, and then really starting to create mindful pieces in a way to balance your mood and balance your body so that it can start to heal as far as not putting out too much cortisol. And then you have to do things like make sure you're getting the right prebiotic foods and probiotic foods to help balance the flora and the fauna of the gut. So we'll talk about that in a follow-up video. I'm going to give you some foods that you can really eat and some supplements that you can start to incorporate. But for today, I really wanted to just put an awareness out there about what dysbiosis and leaky gut are, how they're linked to chronic stress, how they play into adrenal fatigue, and what you can start doing to be aware of this so that we can start correcting the problem. So follow me throughout the week. I'm going to be putting out more videos about how to address this problem and how to start working with and fixing and correcting the underlying issue. And if you find the information that I'm putting out there useful, please, as always, like, share, and subscribe to my channel, and share this information with your friends, with your communities, with your colleagues. Let's get it out there so that we can start to heal as a community. Thank you for spending some time with me today, and I'll see you in the videos throughout the week. Bye-bye.